All right, welcome back, everyone, to our next episode of SCROTUS. Joined again by Colin. Hello,
As
sir.
always. Same as it ever was.
Yes, and this one, I teased to you before we started recording that this one is going to be fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing the reading and research for this case. Um, we in our last episode we talked about Brown versus United States and kind of gave some props, the slightest of props to Mr. Brown for his game and trying to work the system uh, to his advantage. I think the same thing is going to happen here in this particular case, except this guy goes a bridge too far. And at the end, we'll both probably go, hold on. So I'm teasing it a little bit there. But this case has to do with double jeopardy. So that's always a fun clause from the Constitution to throw out there. So, McElrath versus Georgia. In 2012, an 18-year-old man, Damian McElrath, stabbed his adoptive mother, Diane, over 50 times, resulting in her death.
Wow.
Damian notified the police of what he had done, claiming that he was defending himself because he believed that Diane was poisoning him. So he even told the 911 dispatcher when he called, saying, "I've just killed my adoptive mother," that he felt justified in his actions because he felt she was poisoning him throughout his entire life. So later in 2012, McElrath was formally charged with two charges. So malice murder and felony murder, the felony being aggravated assault in the form of stabbing. And a judge convicted McElrath. He then filed a motion for retrial with a jury, which is your right. The motion was granted, and so it was retried, and Mr. McElrath was able to plead his case in front of his peers, a jury of his peers. And so during that process, he claimed he was mentally unstable and mentally unwell. He claimed that he suffered from schizophrenia, causing delusions that his then adoptive mother, Diane, was putting insect poison and ammonia in his food and drink. Interested yet?
It's just
Riveted?
this is like a New York Post article. Anyhow, keep going.
So in 2017, the jury from this trial found him not guilty due to insanity
Okay.
for the count of malice murder. And then they found him guilty but mentally ill on the count of felony murder. So as a result, McElrath was sentenced to a lifetime imprisonment in a mental facility. McElrath appealed the decision to the Georgia Supreme Court under a rule of what they call repugnant verdicts. So this is where it gets really weird, but interesting. So as you probably gathered from what I just said about the verdicts, it was a little weird, right? So I will repeat those. He was found not guilty due to insanity for malice murder, but he was found guilty for felony murder, but also deemed mentally incapable or mentally insane.
Okay.
So these are rather inconsistent verdicts, right?
Yep.
Like they don't make sense together.
No.
So this is where we come with this idea of repugnant verdicts. And this is interestingly something that very few states actually allow, and Georgia is one of them. So inconsistent verdicts happen from time to time where juries might have two verdicts that conflict with one another, right? One guilty, one not guilty, and they don't quite make sense. In those cases, courts are not allowed to question or overturn those inconsistent verdicts because it's assumed that the jury deliberations, whatever they said in private in those rooms, there was some reason for the inconsistency, right? There was some reason that this group of people all agreed together, we want to find this way, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
courts don't question that reasoning, and they don't overturn them. However, repugnant verdicts are also like inconsistent verdicts, as in they are inconsistent and don't make sense. But in repugnant verdicts, the jury has made their reasonings very clear and on record. And that's what happened here. So the Georgia Supreme Court ruled that these were repugnant verdicts, meaning two verdicts that did not match, they were conflicting. And because the jury said, not guilty due to mental illness and also guilty due to mental illness, they very clearly stated their reasonings, and the Georgia Supreme Court said these don't align, right? This is a repugnant verdict, doesn't make sense, so they vacated it. To vacate the verdict means the slate was wiped clean. It's as if those trials never happened and we start back from square one. So we're going back to a retrial for both counts of malice murder and felony murder. Any
Okay.
questions so far?
No, no, I mean it's convoluted, but what isn't
Right.
in our system?
So, a very strange occurrence, it seems. But Miguel Rath, he was the one who, or his, I guess, his defense, I guess, he was the one who basically said, I appeal these decisions because they are repugnant, right? He was the one who started that ball rolling. The Supreme Court of Georgia ruled in his favor, but he wasn't happy enough with that. He said, hold on, this Supreme Court of Georgia's decision actually violates double jeopardy because I was acquitted of the malice murder charge, and so I shouldn't have to be retried for that. So this is the question we now find ourselves with at the US Supreme Court is what happens in these cases where we've vacated verdicts? Can you actually be retried? And is that a violation of double jeopardy? So, in his argument to the Supreme Court of the United States, McIlrath contends that the double jeopardy clause in the Constitution protects him from being retried for his malice murder charge since the jury acquitted him. He claims that if a charge were overturned on appeal, an acquittal would never have to be retried, only a conviction. So this should be similar to him appealing something. So he shouldn't have to be retried for his thing that he was acquitted on. He also contends he should not have to face the dilemma of sacrificing an acquittal while appealing a conviction, if that makes sense. So basically he wants his cake and he wants to eat it too, right? So he wants that one thing that went in his favor, the acquittal, to remain on record and just retry the one that didn't
Lord,
fall in his favor. So
why are we even? This dude just needs to be locked up. Like, why are we even?
I don't know. It's
Stab somebody
fascinating to me.
50, okay, 50 times is not self-defense. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know the fact. Okay, he's clearly crazy. I'm not going to defend what he did. I guess I could see a time where if somebody's coming at you with a deadly weapon and you need to defend yourself and you have a knife, I could see wanting to take them, if it's legally justifiable, right? Like self-defense. Maybe they are just so crazy that you need to do that. But that seems like a total crime of passion, total insanity. These like like when people get stabbed like crazy amounts of times are usually like high emotional crimes, right?
Yeah.
High emotions at stake, usually involving some sort of mental or chemical instability, which is the same thing, right? Like mentally insane people are chemically unbalanced already, and you can either be chemically imbalanced, you can take things to make you chemically imbalanced, or you could be or both. But yeah, 50 stab wounds, but I don't think yeah, like what?
Yeah.
I don't even know why we're having this why are we having this conversation? This man is clearly insane, batshit.
I'll recap sort of his argument in a second,
It's
but
just
on the other
why?
side, On the other side, the state of Georgia is claiming that they are actually not violating the double jeopardy clause. So they're saying in cases in which we deem verdicts repugnant, the and follow try to follow me here. The initial jeopardy never existed. So we can't have double jeopardy if the initial jeopardy never existed because by vacating those verdicts, by saying they never existed, by saying those trials never actually happened, and we're just going to redo the whole thing, you were never actually in jeopardy to begin with. Does that make sense? So it's as if those first trials never existed. We're just going to redo. We're going to press the replay button. So, in other words, the state of Georgia is saying the original jeopardy never ended since those verdicts were not finalized. So we're just now going back to the beginning of your original, quote, jeopardy. So this is not double jeopardy. So these individual charges should be treated as mistrials, not as if they were concluded and
Oh
now
my
we're
God.
retrying
Just
them.
get him in like max security somewhere, give him Taurus, whatever he needs to just dope him for the rest of his life. I'm like, these people, what's the goal here? Does he want out?
So here we go. I'll end it. I'll end his argument with this, and this is the thing I was alluding to earlier, where he takes this a bridge too far. So McElrath further stipulates that the entire existence of this idea of repugnant verdicts actually violates the double jeopardy clause. So it invites the government to subject a citizen to further anxiety and insecurity and fear of possible wrongfully guilty verdicts by the sheer nature of having this idea of repugnant verdicts. And so this is where I go, hold on. You used this idea of repugnant verdicts to get the court to agree with you in the first place. And now you're turning on it and saying, oh, well, that should never exist in the first place and just let me go. What?
Well, but he's a well-adjusted individual, so that's a perfectly cogent argument. Oh, wait, he stabbed somebody 50 times because he thought she was poisoning him.
I'm baffled. I'm baffled,
Well, you
but I'm
should be.
intrigued. I'm intrigued by this
Yeah.
whole scenario because it's like a bad soap opera,
It
right? It's
is. It's more like no, we've gone into telenovela territory here. This is we've left the soap opera. Yeah.
but I find it fascinating because
And I'll do it again. I mean, it's sort of the subtext here, like I'll do it again. Yeah.
to anyone outside of a legal profession, right? This man, it's very clear that this man, as I said before, wants his cake and wants to eat it too, right? He wants, he used the system, or at least his counsel used the system to his advantage, right? Saying these verdicts were inconsistent, ruled them repugnant, wiped the slate clean, and now that a court said, you know what, you're right, we'll do that. Now he's going, oh, but now that you did that, um, you can't actually retry me for this because you already acquitted me for it. Like,
He's trying to get out,
no,
kids. He's trying to 4D chess the situation. No.
it's just not. It's a bridge too far. It's way too far.
I
It's just
really
a
hope
bridge too
he
far.
doesn't. I really hope. I'll, I would say I don't think he'll get off. I'm like, but you don't know, man. Like you don't know. No, I would. That's not a cohesive anything. That's my
No,
take. Yeah, that makes no sense.
and I'm sorry, I did miss this last part. The one of the few things that was kind of the nail in the coffin for me, where I was really like, okay, the state of Georgia made a very good argument in this case. In the very end here, they say in the past, the double jeopardy clause has been treated only to pertain to what we refer to as valid verdicts, and it doesn't stipulate what constitutes a valid verdict. It leaves that to the state. So it is a state's choice to determine what is a final valid verdict in a case that is then used to determine am I retrying this? Am I mistrialing this? Am I acquitting this? Am I double jeoparding this? You understand what I mean? Like
Yeah, no. Yeah.
it falls to the individual state to determine when an actual case and when an actual verdict is finalized. So I think that's a very, very good argument because that's been how it's been treated in the past. So if the state of Georgia wants to say that these were mistrials and act as if they never actually happened, then his case of double jeopardy doesn't hold water at all,
Yeah.
right? Because it's as if the trials never happened to begin with. And I want to also point out that this is kind of like triple jeopardy in his own words, because remember, the very first time he was convicted, it was by a judge. He was the one who then motioned for a trial by jury to retry it. So he was tried twice, basically got a more favorable option in the jury verdict, and then pushed his luck even further and was like, oh, but no, hold on. So, yeah, I feel no sympathy for this man
No.
in the slightest.
No, I just really hope they don't do something stupid in terms of the decision.
I really doubt it. I really don't
I
see
hope not.
how anyone can say that this is double jeopardy.
Yeah.
But
I don't respect his game. This game I do not respect.
okay.
I There are different types of games, I guess, or different levels of game. Yeah, this game I do not respect. I'm not even on a legal structure. Obviously, I don't respect the game of the previous person we talked about either in a moral sense, but tactically you kind of have to admire it. There's no cohesive anything. There's just is just clearly an insane person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to dismantle everything by any means necessary.
Yeah. Well, he did stab somebody 50 times, so
Yeah, and wait, what does that put him? So in he was 18 in 2012. So he's younger than we are. He's 28, 20, yeah, 28, 29. Uh, yeah. So whatever the whatever the case ends up being, however they end up deciding this, I have a feeling he'll at least be in some kind of mental hospital for the rest of his life. If
one hopes.
Yeah, he won't be out on the street, I'm assuming.
One hopes.
But I thought it was interesting. I thought it was
No, it is
fascinating.
interesting. A triple jeopardy.
I can't wait to read the opinions on this. I can't wait to hear some saucy perhaps we don't know who's going to write the opinion, but perhaps Clarence Thomas and
I
what
was
he
gonna say
thinks about
Thomas.
this.
Yeah, Thomas just like I want to see
I'm
Thomas.
hoping for at least a concurrence from Thomas.
I want Thomas. I want to watch a YouTube short video of Thomas literally throwing a book at this guy, like the biggest legal volume, just literally throwing it at his face, and then like Dana White can pop out and Joe Rogan can go, oh, that's what I want. That's what I want to see. Maybe AI can do
I
that
was
for
about
us.
to say I'm sure AI could draft that up real
Yeah.
quick. All right. Well, yeah. I'm like I said, I'm interested to see what they write about this. It could even be a 9-0 case. Who knows? But yeah, interesting. Case dismissed.